I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. Sarah and I had been together for about 8 years, married for 5. We seemed solid, or at least I thought we did. She was a bit bitchy and sharp-tongued, but I figured that was just her personality. We had our ups and downs like every couple, but I believed we were in love. That was until the last few months when little things started to feel off. At first, I just thought maybe I was imagining it, but then I noticed the subtle changes. Her phone never leaving her side, her saying she was working late more often, and an odd defensiveness whenever I asked about her day. It all started about 2 months ago. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and she'd brush it off when I asked. "Work stuff," she'd say, or "it's just a cocktail with a colleague." But she'd get defensive, almost hostile if I pushed too hard. I'd catch her lying about her phone, hiding it whenever I approached. Honestly, I didn't want to believe she was cheating. I mean, we had our problems, sure, but I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. Then came the anniversary dinner. We planned it for weeks, a nice night out to celebrate 5 years of marriage. I had booked a fancy restaurant, got her a thoughtful gift, and even arranged a little surprise. But right up to the night, she was acting strange. Cold, distracted, texting incessantly. She kept saying she was working late again, which had become her go-to excuse. I was already annoyed but tried to brush it off, convincing myself maybe she was just stressed. When we sat down for dinner, she kept glancing at her phone, her eyes darting around the room. I felt a mixture of irritation and disappointment. I wanted this night to be special, and instead, it felt like she was somewhere else entirely. Halfway through dinner, I caught her in a lie. She told me she had a client meeting that ran late, but her tone was sharp, defensive. I pressed her on it and she snapped back. "You don't trust me, do you? Maybe I should just go home then." That hit hard. I didn't say anything at first, just watched her, trying to figure out what was really going on. And that's when I decided I needed to check her phone. I didn't want to be a snoop, but I had this gut feeling that something was wrong. I waited until she was in the bathroom, then quickly grabbed her phone from the table. It was right there, unlocked. I scrolled through her messages, her emails, anything I could find. What I saw made my stomach drop. There were emails from her boss, Mark, stuff that seemed too intimate for a work email. Flirty messages, pictures, plans to meet outside of work. I saw hotel receipts in her email from the night before, a hotel not far from our place, booked under her name. My heart started pounding. That's when it hit me. She'd been lying all this time, hiding something much bigger than I thought. This wasn't just work late nights or innocent drinks at the bar. She'd been cheating on me, probably for a while now, and I had just uncovered it at the worst possible moment. I sat there stunned, trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind was racing. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face, pretend everything was fine while she was sneaking around behind my back? I looked at her returning from the bathroom, and in that moment I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. I had to confront her, but I also knew this was just the beginning of a long, painful road. When Sarah came back from the bathroom, I didn't say a word right away. I just looked at her, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief swirling inside me. She sat down, trying to act normal, but I could see the flicker of something in her eyes, guilt maybe, or just her usual bitchy arrogance covering up her nerves. I set her phone down slowly on the table and looked her straight in the eyes. "So, Sarah," I started, my voice a little hoarse, "who is Mark and what the hell is going on? Because I found hotel receipts in your email from last night. Care to explain?" I saw her stiffen, her jaw tightening as if she'd been caught in a trap. She scoffed and rolled her eyes, trying to brush it off like I was overreacting. Typical Sarah, deflect, deny, and make it my fault. "Really, that's what this is about? You're so paranoid," she snapped. "It's just work stuff. Mark's a good guy and we're working on a project, nothing more. You're jumping to conclusions because you don't trust me. Honestly, I don't even know why I married someone so insecure." Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. I could feel my fists clenched, but I held back. "I saw the emails, Sarah, the pictures, the plans to meet outside of work, and that hotel receipt. That's not just work stuff," I said, my voice rising. "So tell me, how long has this been going on? How many times have you lied to my face about working late or business dinners?" She stared at me with that bitchy smirk, trying to act like she was the victim. "You're overreacting. I was going to tell you, I swear, it's not what you think. Mark and I were just—" She hesitated, then added with a sneer, "We're just having some fun. It's not a big deal. You're so insecure, always accusing me of cheating, and now you're the one stalking my emails." That's when I lost it. The betrayal, the lies, it all hit me so hard I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. I told her I knew everything, that I'd seen the receipts, the messages, everything. I told her she'd been caught, and there was no way she could spin her way out of this one. I wanted to scream, to cry, to punch something, but I just sat there, trembling, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. Her reaction was everything I expected. She shrugged like she didn't care, her voice full of that same bitchy tone. "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake. We're not serious. I was just bored of our marriage, honestly. You're so dull, always working, never paying attention to me. Mark, he listens, he's exciting. I needed something different, okay? It's not like I love him or anything, just sex, that's all." Hearing her say that, I felt like I'd been punched again. Sex, just sex. That's all she thought of it. I was furious, but also heartbroken. I'd always believed in us, in our vows, in what we had. And now it was all crashing down around me. I felt a deep, sharp pain in my chest, like I'd been betrayed by someone I trusted more than anyone else in the world. My mind was spinning, trying to process every word, every lie she'd told, every moment I'd been blind. I remember sitting there, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. I couldn't believe I'd been played for a fool. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how much she hurt me, but all I could do was stare in silence, waiting for her to say more or admit that she was done. Instead, she just looked at me with that snarky, I don't care expression, acting like everything was fine, like she hadn't just shattered what little trust I had left. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept replaying her words, her smirk, the images I'd seen on her phone. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hotel receipt, the emails, her lying through her teeth. It's like my whole world had been turned upside down in a matter of hours. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was out there screwing her boss and pretending it was nothing. That realization hit me like a ton of bricks. For the next few days, I was a mess, angry, hurt, and incredibly confused. I'd catch myself staring at her, trying to find any sign of remorse or guilt, but she just kept up her fake bitchy attitude, acting like I was the crazy one for catching her. She told me I was overreacting, that I was insecure, that she was just having some fun and needed a break from the dull marriage. Every word she spat out felt like a dagger. I knew I couldn't just let this go. I had to do something, but I also didn't want to lose myself in revenge. One night, I sat her down and told her I needed some space, that I couldn't be around her anymore. She rolled her eyes, dismissing me, calling me paranoid and jealous. But I was done pretending everything was okay. I told her I was going to find out the truth, no matter what it took. She sneered at me, basically telling me I was overreacting again, that I was just insecure and jealous because I couldn't handle her being independent and exciting. But I knew better. I knew she was cheating, and I was finally ready to face that. Over the next week, I started digging into her phone, her email, her social media accounts. I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to admit it. My gut told me I had to see for myself. I found more messages, more pictures, plans to meet at that same hotel again. It was clear she'd been doing this for months. I felt sick. Every new piece of evidence made it worse. I started to think about everything she'd said, her lies, the sneaking around, the fun she thought she was having. I felt so betrayed I almost couldn't breathe. One evening, I decided to confront her again. I told her I knew everything, about the emails, the hotel, the meetings. She looked at me with that smirk, still pretending to be innocent, like she was the victim in all of this. She told me I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that I was obsessive. She yelled that I was insecure and that I'd ruined everything. I felt my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to throw things, but I kept my composure. Inside, I was boiling with rage. I was so close to losing it. That's when I realized that I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I pictured my future, my life, and saw it shattered by her lies. I decided I had to put an end to this, that I was done with the lies, the cheating, the fake happy marriage. I knew I had to make a choice, to fight for what was left or walk away for good. And deep down, I knew I couldn't keep living like this, knowing she'd been sleeping with her boss, hiding it all and making a fool out of me. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was hurt. Nothing would ever be the same after this. The next step was clear in my mind. I couldn't just let her keep lying, hiding, pretending everything was fine. I needed to confront her once and for all, but I also knew I had to be smart about it. I didn't want her to spin some bullshit story or turn the tables on me. So I planned carefully. I gathered all the evidence, screenshots of emails, hotel receipts, text messages. I made sure I had everything documented. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some jealous husband overreacting. I had proof. One evening, I decided to lay everything out on the table. I told her I knew about her affair, about Mark, about the hotel, everything. She sat there, her face unreadable, her bitchy smirk still in place. She crossed her arms, trying to act like she was unfazed, but I could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. I wanted to see her break, to see her admit what she'd done. Instead, she spat out some bullshit about how it's not what it looks like, that she was just stressed, and that I was overreacting again. Her words were so predictable, so rehearsed. I'd heard them all before. I didn't buy it. I told her I was done with her lies, that I was sick of her bullshit. I told her I was leaving her, that I couldn't stay married to someone who thought so little of me, who cheated behind my back and then lied to my face. Her reaction surprised me. She got angry, started yelling, calling me clingy, paranoid, and crazy. She said I was possessive and that I was driving her away, but I didn't care. I was past caring. All I cared about was ending this nightmare and reclaiming my dignity. I packed a bag that night and left her there, sitting on the couch, furious and defiant. I stayed at a friend's place for a few days, just trying to process what had happened. The pain was overwhelming. I kept thinking about how I'd trusted her, how I'd believed in us, and how she'd thrown it all away for some stupid affair. I felt hollow inside, like I'd lost a part of myself. But at the same time, I knew I had to move on. I couldn't keep living in this toxic mess. During those days apart, I spent a lot of time reflecting. I realized how much I'd let her manipulate me, how much I'd ignored the warning signs because I didn't want to believe the worst. But now, I saw the truth clearly. She'd been cheating for months, maybe longer, and I was finally free from that betrayal. The hardest part was accepting that I might never get her back. She'd made her choice, and I had to choose mine. I decided I wasn't going to chase her or beg for answers. I owed myself more than that. I needed to rebuild, to find out who I was without her. It was a long road ahead, but I knew I had to walk it. After I left her that night, everything felt like a blur. I didn't sleep much, just lay awake thinking about what it all meant. The betrayal ran so deep that I questioned everything: my judgment, our years together, the future I'd envisioned. The pain was sharp, but beneath it, a strange sense of clarity was beginning to form. I realized I had to make a decision about whether to try to salvage what was left or finally let go and move on. In the days that followed, I stayed with a close friend who knew about the situation. Talking helped, but honestly, I was just numb most of the time. I kept replaying all the moments she'd lied, all the signs I ignored, all the times I trusted her and was met with her bitchy smirk. The more I thought about it, the more I saw her for who she really was: a woman who valued her own excitement and sex with her boss more than she valued our marriage. That realization stung worse than anything else. One thing I did do was contact a lawyer. I knew I had to be prepared for the worst: divorce, financial issues, maybe even a custody fight if we had kids someday. I wasn't sure what my future held, but I was determined to protect myself. I spoke to her parents, who weren't surprised. They'd always thought Sarah was a bit of a bitch, but they also told me to stay strong. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness, but mostly I felt relief. I finally saw the truth clearly. I deserved better than this betrayal, than the constant lying and sneaking around. Meanwhile, Sarah kept trying to contact me, texting and calling incessantly. Each message was full of excuses, blame shifting, and that same bitchy attitude. She kept insisting she was sorry, that she didn't mean for it to happen, and that she still loved me. But I knew better. Love doesn't survive betrayal like this. I responded once, telling her I needed space, that I wasn't ready to talk. I wasn't even sure if I ever would be. I just knew I could go back to that toxic, dishonest marriage. Not after all this. The final blow for me was realizing that I'd been living in a kind of false hope. I kept thinking maybe she'd change, maybe she'd see what she lost, but deep down I knew she didn't care. Her actions had spoken louder than any apology or excuse. The more I thought about it, the more I understood that I had to prioritize my own well-being. I owed myself that much. So I started making plans, finding a new place, figuring out how to rebuild my life without her. Looking back now, I see how much I allowed myself to be blind because I wanted to believe in us in the marriage. But that illusion was shattered, and I'm better off facing the truth than living in denial. I learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's very hard to repair. But I also learned that I'm strong enough to walk away from betrayal, even if it hurts like hell. It's a painful lesson, but one I'll carry with me forever. I just hope that anyone reading this who's going through something similar knows they're not alone, and that they deserve better than someone who cheats and lies. Now, sitting here months later, I can finally breathe a little easier. The initial shock has faded, replaced by a sense of clarity I never thought I'd have after such a betrayal. I won't lie, there's still anger beneath the surface. Sometimes I wake up angry, sometimes I feel a deep sadness for what we lost, but mostly I feel relief. Relief that I didn't let her destroy me completely, that I found the strength to walk away from someone who thought so little of honesty and commitment. Looking back, I realize I allowed her to manipulate me for a long time. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her constant deflecting, they all served to keep me confused and off balance. I was so eager to believe in the fairy tale that I ignored all the warning signs. That was my mistake. But now I see everything clearly. I see the red flags I missed, the ways she made me feel like I was crazy for questioning her. And I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Respect, honesty, and trust, they're the foundation, and if they're broken, everything else crumbles. My advice to anyone stuck in a similar situation: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore the signs, don't make excuses for someone's bad behavior, and don't be afraid to walk away. The pain of betrayal is terrible, but staying in a toxic, dishonest marriage is worse. You deserve someone who values you, who respects you, who would never lie or cheat behind your back. I know that now more than ever. As for me, I'm focused on rebuilding my life. I've started therapy, rediscovering what makes me happy and rebuilding my confidence. I don't have any illusions about love anymore. I know it's hard-earned and fragile. But I also believe I'll find someone who genuinely cares, someone who respects the vows and the trust that come with love. This whole experience has been a brutal wake-up call, but it's also taught me a lot about myself. I'm not weak, I'm resilient. I'm not stupid, I'm cautious now. And most importantly, I'm done with people who take me for granted. Because at the end of the day, I learned that the only person I truly need to trust is myself. And I'll never let anyone betray me like that again.